Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here, and we've warmed up again. After kind of timing out a little bit of cold air going into the weekend, things have got mild again, and it's been crazy to see how warm this January has been, except for the outside cold snaps that we've seen here and there on some of the weekends. So let's get right to the details here. We're kind of southeast divided right now. What I mean by that is there's a pretty strong frontal boundary right here. To the north, it's winter. To the south, it's full-on spring, and this battleground is kind of just drifting over the southeast. So on Tuesday, this is going to be a real interesting setup. Parts of West Virginia and western Maryland are going to see cold and snow, while North Carolina and even parts of West Virginia could see rain. Now that front tries to drift south Tuesday. It gets a little closer to the North Carolina-Virginia border, so areas to the north probably going to see snowmaking opportunities at night and some natural snow. Probably North Carolina looking more at ice or rain setup here. But here's the good news. Once this secondary wave moves through on Thursday, it pushes this whole mess out of here. And going into this weekend, we get into a pretty stout northwesterly flow. I don't expect much snow out of this, but I certainly expect much colder air. In fact, this is a short but really sharp blast of Arctic air, which is going to allow for optimal snowmaking probably as early as Thursday night into Friday and lasting into the weekend. So if you're skiing this weekend, don't let the midweek get you down, because the snowmakers will be cranking things back up, and we're trying to get things nice and optimal in time for President's Day weekend, which isn't too far away here, just 3 weeks away now. You can see kind of a cold pattern for the weekend into Sunday, and then next week, I mean, earlier it looked like the pattern was going to be much better here in early February, but right now the storm track, honestly, is just too far north. We're getting the moisture, but the cold air is not connecting with any of these systems right now. So when I look at the 7 to 10 day snowfall outlooks, you're just not looking at a ton of precipitation right now. So you're really just hoping to get some cold blast here and there that can keep the snowmakers happy. And this is through next Thursday. So that is nothing to write home about, especially when you're talking about the last day of January into early February. That is honestly really, really pathetic. So let's look at the forecast real quickly here, and I got some explanation to do here, because I think into the north, there's going to be snowmaking opportunities pretty much every night or day. It's going to be, especially starting Thursday into Friday. This is kind of locked in, and so is this right here. What's a little bit more questionable is here and down here for sure. In North Carolina, that's it's just going to be too warm, guys. It's just not going to happen here in the middle of the week. But going into the weekend, again, that Friday, Saturday, Sunday time frame, things are looking up. So let's start looking at the long-range pattern. Is there any hope we're going to break this warm January spell? Well, every once in a while, the jet stream tries to hint. Now, this is this weekend. A little piece of the jet stream breaking off and coming south. That's a great little pattern, but it doesn't last. Moves out, we warm back up next week, and then another dip tries to form back to the west. So the middle of next week might be a big transition period to see if we get more dips to dive to the south and head our way. This would be a much better storm track if we can get them to come down here. Right now, the storm track has basically been like this. That's not ideal. We want them much further south so the cold air can wrap around the backside. If we start looking at some of the long-range teleconnections, I'll quickly show you the North Atlantic Oscillation. I mean, just look at this. Here's this weekend's cold snap. But then it kind of goes positive, stays positive. There's a split here. The control drops around the 9th or 10th of February. So this will be an interesting period to watch here. There's some discrepancy in what's going to happen there with the North Atlantic Oscillation and the Arctic Oscillation. Same thing happens in both. You can see there's a split between the control and the mean there. So that's going to be, to me, an interesting pattern to watch. If we look long range, we'll look at the ensembles here. This is looking at the European ensembles. I'll kind of show you on the temperature profile. This is the basically anomalies, departure from average. You can see the warm air gets pushed out this weekend, and you'll see it right here starting Thursday into Friday, and really this weekend, Saturday morning. That's nice. That's what you want to see. So if you're skiing in the southeast, great snowmaking right there. Maybe not a ton of natural snow, but snowmaking, perfect conditions there. That will last into Sunday and Monday. And then going into next week, we see the cold air kind of getting pushed out of the Carolinas and the warm air returning. Big warm up in the east again next week. Where's the cold air? In the west. If we go further into the future, we'll go all the way to the 10th of the month. kind of zonal flow, to be honest with you. Nothing that really jumps off as a bunch of cold air, but maybe not as warm as what we've seen. It's just, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not looking great right now here in the next 7 to 10 days. So hopefully we can flip this pattern, get something to change up in time for President's Day weekend. But like I've said this season, it's been kind of interesting. We've been very lucky. While the cold air hasn't been plentiful, it's been timely. It's been happening on weekends, certain holidays. So we've been pretty lucky in that aspect. When it is cold, it happens on big ski weekends or big holidays, and so far so good. Middle of the weeks have been kind of ugly, and the middle of this week is looking the same. I'll have another update coming up later this week, but guys, keep thinking snow. We're halfway through the winter. We still are waiting for that big one, maybe 2 or 3 big ones. And as you know, in the southeast, late winter, early spring tends to be some of the best snowstorms of the season. So don't give up hope yet. We still got a ways to go.